Chapter 3694. Killing Reality with the Virtual. In the Void Realm, Tao Lords and the kings of small soul domains were evenly matched, or even slightly inferior in some aspects, due to the immense power granted by the primordial virtual treasures. First-tier souls generally turned and fled upon seeing the kings of small soul domains, not wanting to engage with them. Only Lin Moyu viewed the kings of small soul domains as insignificant. With just the 1,000 Tao illusionary formation and the world-burning fire, he could severely injure them. Adding the catastrophe staff, erasing them wasn't a problem. Previously, he had done just that, resulting in the absence of kings in dozens of nearby small soul domains. He had also seized all the primordial virtual treasures, making him the king of the small soul domains. Since the lizard god realm was within the small soul domains he controlled, he didn't need to worry about other kings interfering. Seeing Lin Moyu's confidence, Antares stopped asking questions. He knew Lin Moyu was someone who never acted without certainty and wouldn't joke with his life. Half a day later, Ouyang Wentian returned with the third ancestor, the Beast Emperor, and the King of the Boundary Sea. The Beast Emperor was the Tao Lord of the Wind Great Tao. The third ancestor was the Tao Lord of the Balance Great Tao, and the King of the Boundary Sea was the Tao Lord of the Water Great Tao. Their three Great Taos were all from the Origin Continent, and as Tao Lords they were incredibly powerful. However, being newly promoted, they couldn't fully unleash the power of their Great Taos yet. In the Void Realm, their strength would be slightly greater than Shinchen's, who was a high-stage first-tier soul. Ouyang Wentian had found the three together, so they all came along. The third ancestor transmitted a message asking,
Lin Young One, what's this about?
Lin Moyu replied,
I've found the location of the lizard god realm. Are you interested in destroying it together?
The expressions of the third ancestor and the others changed, clearly moved. They hadn't forgotten the grudge against the lizard god realm. The third ancestor asked quietly,
Is it just the location in the void realm? Have you discovered their position in the real world?
The Beast Emperor whispered,
If we can find their location in the real world, I'll go and slaughter them.
Compared to destroying them in the void realm, the third ancestor and the others preferred to annihilate them in the real world. As long as their real world existed, it wouldn't be a complete victory. If the enemy's Tao Lord escaped with their soul world, it would be troublesome. Lin Moyu said,
I don't know their real world location yet, but it's not important. I have a secret technique that can erase their real world through the soul void.
This statement left the third ancestor and the others silent. After a while, the third ancestor spoke in a low voice.
Is there really such a technique that can kill reality with the virtual?
He wasn't very convinced. In their traditional understanding, the soul void was a place for cultivation and great Tao contests, though it was fraught with danger. Destroying a world was something that should be done in the real world. The usual method was to find the target in the void realm, lock onto it, and then use the mapping relationship between the void realm and the real world to enter the world's mist and find the enemy's real world. This was the conventional way, but Lin Moyu was taking a different approach, killing reality with the virtual. This was something they had never thought of or seen anyone achieve. However, since Lin Moyu said it, they couldn't doubt its authenticity. After exchanging glances, they made their decision to trust Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu said,
The grudge against the lizard god tribe must be avenged. Perhaps you won't gain much from this, but if we succeed, the world will of the Origin Continent will reward us.
The third ancestor said,
My great Tao is the balanced great Tao, where all things are balanced. The lizard god tribe once launched an invasion against us, causing immense damage. We should retaliate to seek balance.
After becoming a Tao Lord, the third ancestor's way of speaking had changed, perhaps due to the power of the great Taos or revealing his true nature. The Beast Emperor simply said,
Why think so much? We have a grudge. Let's just avenge it.
The King of the Boundary Sea also whispered,
I'll gather my army and accompany Lin Young Friend to attack them.
Lin Moyu said,
No need for a large army. Just a few of you accompanying me will do. I'll wait outside the Origin world. If you see my skeleton god generals in the soul void, let them guide you.
They were not as familiar with the soul void as Lin Moyu. Once inside, they would likely lose their way. Lin Moyu had already deployed a large number of skeleton god generals in the soul void corresponding to the origin continent. Finding just one would provide guidance. This way, they would save a lot of time. Lin Moyu's aura disappeared with his voice as he re-entered the void realm. He rode the little python through the world barrier, dispersing the chaotic mist, and waited quietly. Over the past 100 years, the little python had gained immense benefits following Lin Moyu. Feasting on virtual soul pills, the little python had evolved into a third-tier virtual beast. Its size was much larger, even when shrunk it was over 100 meters, and when fully extended it could reach up to 10,000 meters. Its scales released dazzling light under the faint glow of the void realm. However, the little python remained obedient, knowing its master was a formidable existence. As long as it listened, it would receive endless benefits. The little python asked,
Master, how do you plan to destroy the lizard god realm?
Lin Moyu replied,
Surround and annihilate them.
These 4 words summed up Lin Moyu's tactic. It didn't require complex strategies or plans. Surrounding and killing would suffice. The current skeleton god generals had the strength of mid-stage second-tier souls. Not the most powerful, but their numbers were overwhelming. Once billions of skeleton god generals charged forward, even someone like Shin Chen, a high-stage first-tier soul, would be troubled. Although Shin Chen could eventually break through, the process would be arduous. In situations where the strength difference wasn't extreme, no one could ignore the numerical advantage. Lin Moyu waited for a moment before sensing a message from a skeleton god general. It had found someone. The first to be found was Ouyang Wentian, who wanted to join in on the excitement. Lin Moyu naturally had no reason to refuse, and having another Dao Lord wasn't bad. The skeleton god general led Ouyang Wentian directly to the outside of the world. Ouyang Wentian's eyes were filled with astonishment.
I didn't expect Lin brother to have reached such a level. It's truly astonishing.
When Lin Moyu was in the origin continent, his cultivation level couldn't be clearly seen from the outer Great Dao, not even by a 2.5 Dao Lord. In fact, Lin Moyu's true cultivation level had become a mystery. Some people guessed that Lin Moyu was at the 5th-tier soul, while others thought he was at the 4th-tier soul. No one dared guess that Lin Moyu was already at the 3rd-tier soul. If true, it would be too terrifying. This thought wasn't unique to others. Even Ouyang Wentian had guessed that Lin Moyu was at most a 4th-tier soul. Yet, upon seeing him now, Lin Moyu was already at the 2nd-tier soul. In just a few hundred years, Lin Moyu had advanced from the 7th-tier soul to the 2nd-tier soul, a feat without precedent. Lin Moyu smiled.
It's just luck.
Ouyang Wentian shook his head.
Even the children of the world before the origin continent's catastrophe weren't as impressive as Lin brother.
Lin Moyu smiled.
Before the 3rd ancestor and the others arrive, why don't you tell me about the children of the world? I'm quite excited.
Chapter 3695. He Won't Tolerate Me. Lin Moyu had largely understood the events before and after the origin continent's catastrophe. Among these, he discovered a peculiar point: the world's child. The world's child gathered more than half of the origin continent's luck. But during the catastrophe, the world's child was sacrificed, and it was a deliberate act. The world's child's fate shouldn't have been this way. With the accumulated luck of the origin continent, they should have stood at the pinnacle of the world. Even with the catastrophe, they shouldn't have been sacrificed. It was like in the Great World, where during the most dangerous times, someone like Xiao Zhantian, who gathered the luck of the human race, emerged to save the world. This, in Lin Moyu's view, was the correct choice. However, sacrificing the world's child and returning their luck to the world was a decision Lin Moyu couldn't understand. Ouyang Wentian, with a thoughtful expression, recalled the distant past.
As for the world's child, I don't know much, but I'll share what I do know. Legend has it that when the world's child was born, all the great Daos resonated, and every Dao Lord simultaneously learned of their identity. They were born of the world's will, possessing 60% of the origin continent's luck. Dao Lords weren't qualified to take them as disciples, but they were taught by heavenly teachings. From a young age, They mastered various secret techniques and received endless favor. No one dared to harm them. Their cultivation was smooth, without bottlenecks, and they broke through to the great Tao realm in just 10,000 years, unprecedented in history.
Ouyang Wentian paused. Indeed, they were unprecedented, but saying there was no one after them was no longer true. Lin Moyu, who had lived for only a few thousand years, was already at the second-tier Soul Great Tao realm, surpassing the world's child in many ways. Ouyang Wentian coughed lightly and continued.
After reaching the great Tao realm, their cultivation speed slowed but was still much faster than others. Later, during the Origin Continent's catastrophe, the world's child was at the sixth-tier soul. The sixth-tier soul was somewhat useful during the catastrophe, but not much. However, they possessed 60% of the Origin Continent's luck, so they were sacrificed, and their luck returned to the heavens.
Lin Moyu asked.
Was he truly sacrificed?
Ouyang Wentian replied.
It seems so, but I'm not entirely clear. Perhaps the third ancestor knows more.
Just then, the third ancestor's voice came from the side.
You're saying that I might know more?
The skeleton god general had led the third ancestor there, and he had overheard some of the conversation. Upon seeing Lin Moyu, the third ancestor exclaimed,
Lin Young One, you've reached the second-tier soul?
Lin Moyu chuckled.
It's nothing surprising.
The third ancestor snorted.
Indeed, nothing that happens to you is surprising anymore.
Lin Moyu said.
We were just discussing the world's child. You arrived at the right time.
The third ancestor frowned slightly.
What's there to discuss about the world's child?
Lin Moyu asked.
Question Heaven Tao Lord said the world's child was sacrificed. Was it forced?
The third ancestor replied.
Does it matter? The great Taoists needed to reclaim their luck, and he couldn't do anything about it.
Lin Moyu said.
Couldn't he have quickly risen to the pinnacle of the great Taoists, leading all the Tao Lords to change the course of events? If the great Taoists were willing, it should have been possible.
The third ancestor shook his head.
Perhaps it could have been done, but the fate great Tao was destroyed during the catastrophe, and the world's child was destined not to reach the highest peak. They primarily cultivated the fate great Tao.
Lin Moyu's heart trembled. The world's child cultivated the fate great Tao, which was the first great Tao to be shattered during the catastrophe. From then on, the world's child lost the possibility of becoming a Tao Lord and was ultimately sacrificed.
Fate great Tao. World's child.
Lin Moyu tried to connect the two, feeling there should be a relationship between them. He had interacted with the Origin Continent's heavenly mandate great Tao many times and had glimpsed some clues. Intelligence. The world will of the Origin Continent, or its great Taoists themselves, seemed to have been born with intelligence. Normally, world wills only had instincts and shouldn't have intelligence. The world should operate within predetermined rules, which aren't easily changed. Once a world will gains intelligence, it can easily alter these rules, making it unpredictable for the entire world. A sufficiently intelligent world could lead the world towards greater glory. If it's selfish, it could lead the world to destruction. It's unclear if the Origin Continent has given birth to a world will, but Lin Moyu had a vague feeling. This can't be judged unless he directly interacts with the world will. Lin Moyu could only infer from the world's child's experiences. The world's child's sacrifice was indeed forced. Because the fate great Tao was shattered, the world's child couldn't reach the pinnacle, so they were sacrificed. This also indirectly suggests that the world will must have gained intelligence, making choices. It was precisely this reason that the world will cultivated the world's child. If things had developed normally, the world's child should have become the Tao Lord of the fate great Tao. They would have become the representative of the world will, not the master of the world but superior to one. In this way, the Origin Continent couldn't have a true world master. If a world master appeared, they would have to control the world will. With intelligence, why would the world will willingly be controlled? As Lin Moyu pondered, the third ancestor said,
By the way, back then, the Beast Emperor was close to the world's child. When the world's child dispersed, the Beast Emperor was by their side.
Lin Moyu glanced to the side, and as he mentioned the Beast Emperor arrived. Upon seeing Lin Moyu's cultivation level, the Beast Emperor let out a sharp cry. The third ancestor said,
Calm down. There's no need to be so shocked.
Lin Moyu looked at the Beast Emperor, seeing their true form for the first time. The Beast Emperor usually shrouded themselves in mist, making it impossible for outsiders to see their true appearance. Sometimes they only revealed what they wanted others to see. However, now in the soul void, appearing in a soul form, they couldn't hide their true identity. The third ancestor chuckled.
How do you like it? Didn't expect them to look like this, did you?
Lin Moyu said.
It's reasonable.
The Beast Emperor was indeed from the demon tribe, but wasn't one of the 10 royal families. They were a heaven-devouring mouse. Not just Lin Moyu was shocked. Even Ouyang Wentian was surprised. In the outer Great Tao, heaven-devouring mice were highly sought after. Heaven-devouring mice were also known as treasure-seeking mice, and many people wanted to obtain one because they had an innate ability to find treasures. Especially when entering the world mist or exploring strange lands, heaven-devouring mice were incredibly effective. The Beast Emperor said quietly,
I am the first heaven-devouring mouse in the origin continent. Do you have any objections?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
You should know that Lin Garden has a heaven-devouring mouse.
The Beast Emperor said,
I know. If not for your kindness towards it, I would have eaten you long ago.
The third ancestor snorted.
You're all talk. Tell me, when the world's child was sacrificed, did they say anything?
The Beast Emperor thought for a moment.
I think they did say something. It was a long time ago, and I remembered after thinking for a while. They said, he won't tolerate me.
Chapter 3696. Reversing Cause and Effect.
He won't tolerate me.
The third ancestor and the others looked at the Beast Emperor with puzzlement, clearly not understanding the meaning behind his words. Lin Moyu, lost in thought, glanced back at the world barrier.
Black Senior has arrived.
The king of the Boundary Sea, whose true name was Mohe, was called
Old Black
by the third ancestor and the Beast Emperor. He belonged to the Great Whale Clan and initially lived in the Boundary Sea of the Origin Continent. After achieving the Great Tao, he entered the Water Great Tao. After the Origin Continent's catastrophe, he sought to reclaim the position of Tao Lord of the Water Great Tao by re-entering the Origin Continent and the Boundary Sea, becoming the king of the Boundary Sea. Now, as the Tao Lord of the Water Great Tao, the third ancestor and the Beast Emperor still referred to him as
Old Black,
a nickname that didn't hold much significance to him. Upon seeing Lin Moyu, the king of the Boundary Sea reacted similarly to the Beast Emperor, being startled by Lin Moyu's cultivation level. Lin Moyu smiled.
Please, seniors, follow me.
He led the way, flying towards the lizard god realm. The journey was shrouded in thick mist, covering vast distances in the blink of an eye. The Beast Emperor wondered.
Why haven't we seen any virtual beasts?
The third ancestor also whispered.
It's indeed strange.
They had previously encountered virtual beasts in the soul void, even if they didn't consider them significant. However, now not a single virtual beast was seen, which was peculiar. Lin Moyu didn't speak, continuing to fly forward, distancing themselves from the Origin Continent. Only when they were far away, roughly the distance of a small soul domain, did Lin Moyu stop.
Seniors, I have something to say, but I'm not sure if I should.
The Beast Emperor said.
Among us, there's nothing we can't discuss. Speak freely.
The third ancestor chuckled.
What are you thinking, little fox?
Lin Moyu hesitated but eventually pulled out 2 primordial virtual treasures. The soul-devouring fire basin and the Soul Heart King's soul-shaking treasure mountain. The soul-devouring fire basin spewed forth flames, creating a sea of fire that surrounded them. The soul-shaking treasure mountain radiated a brilliant light, enveloping everyone. The third ancestor was astonished.
These are primordial virtual treasures. How did they end up in your hands?
Lin Moyu replied.
Over the years, I've killed several kings of small soul domains.
The others exchanged glances, shocked by what Lin Moyu had done. Killing the kings of small soul domains wasn't something to be taken lightly. Even with primordial virtual treasures, becoming a Tao Lord didn't guarantee the ability to kill these kings. The third ancestor seemed to realize something.
Lin Young One, did you use the great Tao Essence Fire?
Lin Moyu said.
You're focusing on the wrong point, seniors. The important thing is what I'm about to say.
The third ancestor then understood why Lin Moyu had hesitated earlier.
What do you want to say?
Lin Moyu said.
Based on my judgment, the world will of the origin continent has gained intelligence and self-awareness.
His words exploded like thunder in the minds of the others. At their level, they naturally understood Lin Moyu's words. For a world, the true endpoint for a cultivator is to become a Tao Lord. After achieving this, they must continue to strengthen their great Tao through contests, eventually entering the great Tao's true body. Only then can they be considered true Tao Lords. Currently, the third ancestor and the Beast Emperor mastered projected great Taos, not the true bodies of the great Taos, which remained in the origin ancestral land. Once someone becomes a true Tao Lord, they will transcend their world, enter the origin ancestral land, and reflect their great Tao into the origin ancestral land. This is the final destination for Tao Lords. However, before entering the origin ancestral land and mastering the true body of the great Tao, one must inevitably transcend their own world. They would no longer be Tao Lords under the world but would become Tao sages above it. Projected great Taos exist within the world, while the true bodies of the great Taos are above it. When the origin ancestral land descended, it firmly suppressed the entire origin world using the power of the great Tao's true body. If the world will has gained intelligence, it would not allow anyone to transcend it, meaning their path to mastering the true body of the great Tao would be cut off. Once someone tries to transcend the world will would erase them. As Tao Lords within the world, they would find it difficult to prevail against the world will. This outcome was despairing for many Tao Lords. Mo Hay's expression turned serious, his voice low.
This isn't something to joke about. How did you come to this conclusion, Lin brother?
Lin Moyu replied.
You all know I was granted heavenly teachings, which allowed me to interact with the world will. However, at the time, I didn't feel anything special. Recently, I've seen many worlds in the soul void and helped a small soul domain king transcend. I witnessed their struggle against the world will, which raised some doubts in my mind. That world will seem different from the one on the origin continent. After several attempts, I acted out of bounds on the origin continent, intentionally provoking punishment, and each time, I received clear guidance from the heavenly teachings. You should also understand that the world shouldn't behave this way. It should follow the grand trend without changing, but allow for minor adjustments. Especially during the origin continent's catastrophe, the fate of the world's child reinforced my speculation to over 70%. The Beast Emperor's mention of the world's child's last words brought my speculation to 90%. The world will of the origin continent has gained intelligence, perhaps not strong, but it must have its own thoughts. So I'm warning you seniors to be cautious.
Lin Moyu's words were logical and convincing, and they had to believe him. However, this was still just Lin Moyu's speculation and couldn't be fully confirmed. At this moment, Lin Moyu pulled out a mirror.
Seniors should recognize this mirror.
The Beast Emperor's nose twitched.
This is the Chigu mirror you obtained from the illusory god's child.
Lin Moyu said.
This mirror has the ability to reverse cause and effect, and it's most effective in the soul void. Today, with your witness, I'll use it to confirm the final link, turning my 90% speculation into either 100% or 0.
Speculations have only two outcomes, correct or incorrect. Therefore, Lin Moyu decided to verify it. The third ancestor guessed what Lin Moyu was about to do.
This is dangerous.
Lin Moyu replied.
It doesn't matter. This is important. Even if it costs something, it must be done.
The others remained silent, knowing this had to be done. Since Lin Moyu chose to do this, it meant he was confident in his ability to escape unscathed. Lin Moyu used his soul power to activate the Chigu mirror, declaring loudly,
Using the third ancestor as the cause and transcendence as the effect. Reverse cause and effect.
The Chigu mirror burst forth with dazzling light, and the third ancestor's figure appeared within it. Then, a world unfolded before them, which they recognized as something from the origin continent. The third ancestor stood atop an unnamed mountain peak, gazing up at the sky. A massive, cold, and merciless eye appeared in the sky, and with just one glance, the third ancestor's body exploded. Chapter 3697. Failure means martyrdom. In the light projection, the third ancestor's body exploded, his soul scattering. In the soul void, the third ancestor's soul trembled violently, a chill rising from the depths of his heart. Anyone who saw their own death would struggle to remain calm. The eye that killed the projected third ancestor turned towards Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu acted swiftly, cutting off his soul power and pulling out the artifact spirit, Little Cheong, but it was too late. The Chigu mirror exploded with a loud bang, and Lin Moyu's soul shattered like a balloon. This situation startled everyone. Lin Moyu's soul had been destroyed so easily. A purple light appeared out of nowhere, and Lin Moyu's soul was reborn within it. The destroyed Chigu mirror was fortunate to have Little Cheong pulled out in time. It stared blankly around, nearly frightened to tears by the terrifying presences. Lin Moyu quickly grabbed it and stored it away. Artifact spirits were valuable, sometimes more important than the Chigu mirror. Reborn, Lin Moyu calmly said,
Fortunately, I reacted quickly and didn't reveal my identity. The previous arrangements worked. The primordial virtual treasures blocked the world will's probing, and my identity remains hidden.
The third ancestor trembled, asking,
Is it really him?
Lin Moyu nodded.
Before, I was 90% sure, but now I'm 100% certain that the world will of the origin continent has gained intelligence. And this intelligence is selfish. Anyone who tries to transcend will be killed. It's the law of the great Taos. I can sense that it also wants to transcend.
The third ancestor, having witnessed his own death and faced the merciless eye, chose to believe Lin Moyu's words, muttering.
This explains a lot.
The Beast Emperor asked.
What does it explain?
Mohe seemed to understand.
The third ancestor, are you referring to the Lord of Hell?
The third ancestor nodded.
Yes, I never understood why the Lord of Hell died so easily. Now it makes some sense. If we connect the dots, we can understand it this way. Back then, the Lord of Hell didn't follow the path of great Tao contests. He wanted to directly transcend and become the world master. So, he captured the Taiyin ancestral dragon and refined it, seizing the source power of the Yin dragon Great Tao. Afterward, he planned to capture the Yang dragon ancestor, taking the source power of the Yang dragon as well, to merge them into the Yin-Yang source. If successful, he would have used the Hell Great Tao combined with the Yin-Yang Great Taos to transcend the world and become the first person in the world. He would have borrowed the faith of countless living beings to complete his transcendence and become the world master. However, the Yang dragon ancestor somehow received the news and escaped before the Lord of Hell could act. When he returned, he was already afflicted with a terrible curse, having entered an ancient desolate land. From then on, the Lord of Hell's plan failed, and he could only engage in great Tao contests. Ultimately, he was killed by a strong figure during the origin continent's catastrophe.
The third ancestor recounted the entire process, having been close to the Lord of Hell and knowing many secrets others didn't. The Beast Emperor whispered,
Could it be that the one who killed the Lord of Hell was the world will?
The third ancestor shook his head.
It shouldn't be. The world will was the mastermind, but someone else killed the Lord of Hell. After his transcendence failed, he told me that he would inevitably die. Before, I didn't fully understand, but now I do. From that time on, the world will had been watching him, stripping him of his luck. No matter what he did, he would eventually die. In fact, from that time on, the Lord of Hell was preparing. He placed a severe curse on his own hell, If he died, hell would shatter, and its fragments would destroy the world. Because of the Lord of Hell's curse, the third ancestor is worried about the hell fragments and even fears them.
The Beast Emperor said.
If there's such a secret, then we truly have no path forward.
The third ancestor looked at Lin Moyu.
Whether there's a path forward depends on this little fox.
Several pairs of eyes turned to Lin Moyu, who smiled wryly.
Don't look at me. I don't know what to do either. I'm also at a loss.
The third ancestor snorted, clearly not believing Lin Moyu.
If you have any ideas, speak up.
The Beast Emperor chimed in.
Lin brother, if you have a plan, just say it. Don't keep us in suspense.
Lin Moyu said.
There is a way, but it's difficult and extremely dangerous.
The third ancestor said.
I knew this little fox had a plan. Speak quickly.
Initially, they thought there was no path forward, but now hope emerged. As long as there was hope, no matter how difficult, they could try. Without hope, there was nothing. Lin Moyu said.
I once befriended a king of a small soul domain and helped him find a world to complete his transcendence. Although the process of transcendence is perilous, with your Tao hearts, there's a chance if you can find the right world. So, to escape the control of the world will, the best method is to find a suitable world and directly complete transcendence.
The third ancestor sighed.
Finding a suitable world? The soul void is vast. Where do we even start looking?
Lin Moyu chuckled.
I created a rune called the Seeking Realm rune. With it, you can spend less time searching for hidden worlds in the soul void. I've tried it many times and found dozens of worlds, but most are guarded by Tao lords, and my strength isn't enough.
The Beast Emperor's eyes lit up.
Lin brother, do you mean we should forcefully take them?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
Not simply by force. We need to find a suitable world, preferably one with a causal connection. If the world is too strong, I can find a way to weaken it. Before that, we'll need to work together to eliminate the top-tier strongholds in those worlds. Once we transcend, we'll become the world masters, gaining true freedom and no longer being bound by the world will of the origin continent.
Listening to Lin Moyu, it seemed simple, but in reality, it would be extremely difficult. The third ancestor immediately identified the key point. The third ancestor whispered.
This can only be done once. Since the world will has gained intelligence, if it happens once, it won't allow it to happen again.
Lin Moyu said.
It should be that way. So, we need to find several suitable worlds and act simultaneously, without giving the world will time to react. If this succeeds, we'll transcend and be free. If we fail, we won't need the world will to act. We'll be destroyed. You must think carefully.
Emohei slapped his fin heavily.
What's there to think about? In a situation where we have no future, why not take a gamble? Otherwise, why become Tao lords if we're just going to be controlled?
The Beast Emperor added.
If we don't know, it's one thing. But since we do, what's the point of being Tao lords if we don't take a chance?
Up until then, Ouyang Wentian had been silent, but he spoke up quietly.
I may have low strength, but I'm not willing to be anyone's puppet.
Lin Moyu nodded.
Since that's the case, let's take a chance.
The third ancestor asked.
Little Fox, are you also planning to do this?
Chapter 3698. I'll take the lead. Facing the third ancestor's question, Lin Moyu shook his head.
My path is different from yours. I won't become a Tao Lord, but I will have a final battle with the world will of the origin continent. At that time, the strong figures of the origin continent will likely become the world will's soldiers and engage in a life or death battle with me. I don't want to face death with you seniors.
The third ancestor could sense that Lin Moyu's words were genuine. If they were to face each other in a life or death battle, it would be somewhat pitiful. However, if he remained in the origin continent at that time, this battle seemed unavoidable. The Beast Emperor asked,
What about your friends on the origin continent?
Lin Moyu replied,
Their strength is not great. A single formation could trap them. Once I settle the battle with the world will, everything will be resolved. But you seniors are powerful, and I couldn't show mercy if we were to fight. If it were another Tao Lord, they would certainly think I'm boasting. But you understand me. You know I'm not speaking nonsense. Ordinary Tao Lords are no longer in my consideration. When the time comes, facing me could mean certain death.
The third ancestor said,
This matter is still early. Let's not discuss it for now. Instead, let's talk about the Lizard God realm. Do you plan to destroy it or occupy it?
Lin Moyu said,
There are many worlds, and the Lizard God realm isn't the best choice, but it's a good one. Firstly, it's not too strong. Relatively speaking, neither the Tao Lords nor the world itself are powerful. Secondly, it has a past with the origin continent, and there's a causal connection between them. If someone becomes the master of the Lizard God realm, they could use the cause and effect Great Tao to locate the origin continent in the real world. I'm not referring to locating it in the soul void, but in the real world. This is crucial. Once located in the real world, we can perform various operations, such as launching a feint attack on the origin continent to draw away strong forces and reduce my burden and casualties. Lin Moyu isn't hiding this. It's his personal intention. Please forgive him.
The third ancestor said,
Cultivators all have personal intentions. Without them, why cultivate? The great Taos are impartial because they lack intelligence. Once they gain intelligence, they will also have personal intentions. You've thought of reducing casualties, which is commendable. If we occupy several worlds, we can work together to locate the origin continent and launch a feint attack in coordination with you.
The third ancestor spoke, and the Beast Emperor and others agreed, finding this plan feasible. They also had friends and family on the origin continent and didn't want innocent lives lost. This was the outcome Lin Moyu desired, and having the third ancestor suggest it was more effective than if he had said it himself. Lin Moyu smiled.
It's too early to discuss this now. Let's go deal with the Lizard God realm first.
The third ancestor said,
You're lingering here. Let's get moving.
With this settled, Lin Moyu felt a slight relief in his heart. He couldn't predict the future, so he could only lay out his plans as best he could. Lin Moyu couldn't help but mock himself. He had unknowingly transformed from an insignificant pawn into a key player in the grand scheme, ready to clash with the entire world. Although the origin continent was just a small part of the vast universe, it was still enormous for him. He wanted to become stronger, so he had to first overturn this sea. Collaborating with the third ancestor and others was the first step in doing so. The group pierced through the thick mist, drawing closer to the Lizard God realm. Along the way, they still didn't encounter any virtual beasts. Lin Moyu had cleared them out earlier. Some were absorbed or refined into virtual soul pills, which became Little Python's possessions. Throughout the journey, Little Python remained at Lin Moyu's feet, serving as his mount. It didn't speak, nor did it dare to. It didn't even want to listen. The conspiracy among these powerful figures was beyond what a mere virtual beast like it could handle. The more it knew, the more entangled it would become in causality, and the sooner it would die. Yet it had no choice but to listen. All it could do was cling to Lin Moyu's leg and not let go. The third ancestor looked at Little Python.
Little fox, your mount isn't bad.
Lin Moyu nodded.
It's quite obedient. It's followed me for a few hundred years and knows what to do and what not to do.
The third ancestor said,
If it listens, it can live longer. If not, it can be slaughtered.
The Beast Emperor said,
Don't scare the little guy. If it doesn't listen, don't kill it. I like eating virtual beasts.
Montag hai chucket.
Your mouth is too small. You eat slowly. My mouth is big. I can swallow directly without pain.
The Beast Emperor said,
Don't joke. If you swallow it, it would still suffer from your innate essence fire, which would be truly agonizing.
Little Python trembled, listening to these terrifying figures who casually talked about eating it. Lin Moyu laughed.
This guy is timid. If you keep scaring it, it might die from fear.
The Beast Emperor laughed heartily and patted Little Python's head.
Don't be afraid, little one. I'm just teasing.
Little Python remained silent, focusing on moving forward. Finally, they arrived outside the lizard god realm. Shin Chan sat motionless in the void, then stood up to greet them as he saw Lin Moyu approaching with the others.
Shinchin greets the Tao Lords.
Shun Chen bowed respectfully, recognizing these figures as Tao Lords. Especially when facing Mo. Shun Chun felt a sense of awe, feeling inferior and wanting to kneel. Lin Moyu introduced.
This is Shinchin, a high-ranking winter soul cultivator of the heavy water Great Tao.
Mo appraised him.
I remember that the Great Tao has a Tao Lord.
Shin Chun replied.
What you said is correct, sir. The Tao Lord of the heavy water Great Tao is my teacher.
Montag hai smilet.
You don't want to take your teacher's position as Tao Lord, so you're seeking a world outside to become a Tao Lord. This idea is good, but unfortunately, you'll likely die trying.
Shin Chan said.
I understand, but there's no other way. There's a path forward, and I must proceed. My teacher's kindness is boundless, and I can only do this.
From their brief conversation, it was clear that Shen Chan was a man of strong emotions and loyalty, unwilling to usurp his teacher's position as Tao Lord. Instead, he sought opportunities outside. It's a perilous path, but he had no choice. Lin Moyu looked favorably upon Shin Chan because of this. He thought of helping Shin Chan achieve his goal, perhaps even becoming a Tao Lord. The third ancestor said,
Someone with such strong emotions and loyalty is rare. Since that's the case, let's help him achieve his goal.
Mo said.
I'll take the lead.
As he spoke, the void filled with water, transforming into a massive wave that surged towards the lizard god realm. Chapter 3699. A bizarre feeling. The massive waves rolled in, and the water great Tao appeared in the void. The water great Tao hadn't been reflected into the origin ancestral land, so it couldn't display its full power anywhere in the soul void. Mo entered the soul void, where his strength would be discounted in many places. However, since they were at the lizard god realm, which had the water great Tao, Mo could utilize it to its fullest extent. In other words, Mo borrowed the lizard god realm's water great Tao to launch an attack. The waves mixed with Mo's spiritual intent crashed against the lizard god realm's world barrier. In the eyes of virtual beasts, the world barrier didn't exist, but for Lin Moyu and others, it was real. The barrier distorted, partially caving inward, and the waves surged in. The barrier didn't break. Its role was to filter chaotic great Tao powers, making the Taos within the world orderly. It didn't have strong defensive capabilities. Once the attack exceeded its defensive power, it would cease resistance and activate the world will, alerting all strong figures in the world of an external invasion. Shin Chun watched this scene and finally confirmed Mo's identity, understanding why he felt compelled to kneel. Mo was the Tao Lord of the Water Great Tao, while Shen Chun cultivated the Heavy Water Great Tao, a branch of the Water Great Tao. This hierarchical relationship in the Taos explained his instinctive reaction. Shin Chun was also confident in Mo and the others. With the Tao Lords of the Origin Great Taos present, there was nothing to worry about. The other figures seemed no weaker than Mo.
Who dares to come seeking death?
A voice roared from the lizard god realm as 5 figures emerged, including the Tao Lord who had previously fought Shin Chan and controlled the heavy water great Tao. Mo roared back.
You've come at the right time.
The waves suddenly became chaotic, losing their previous order. Endless water bubbles rose and burst, each explosion accompanied by massive force, like giant palms slapping the lizard god realm figures. The 5 figures were instantly destabilized, but the attack wasn't lethal. It was more humiliating than damaging. However, this was just the beginning. Mo waved his hand, and the waves surged again, encircling the 5 figures. As they struggled to stand, they realized the danger and pulled out their treasures to try and break through the waves. But Mo's waves were not easy to breach. His previous actions were designed to trap them.
Great Tao Cage!
Mo roared, and the waves became thick and heavy, like a solid yet flexible material. The lizard god realm's 5 Tao lords attacked, but to no avail. Montag hai chakit.
Once you enter my cage, it's not easy to escape.
He shouted again.
Stab!
Endless spears emerged within the cage, leaving no space for the 5 Tao lords to dodge. They concentrated their power for defense, but the continuous barrage of spears made them suffer. These 5 were not Tao lords of the origin great Taoists, so they were weaker than Mohe. However, as Tao lords themselves, killing them wouldn't be easy. The soul void space shook, and the chaotic mist was completely dispersed as the 5 figures resisted the attack. They gathered all their strength and launched a counterattack, trying to break the cage. Multiple great Taoists appeared as the lizard god realm figures drove their Taoists against Mohe. It was clear that Mohe was straining to maintain his great Tao cage, but the increasing force inside the cage was challenging for him. Mohe said,
The first shot has been fired. You can act now.
Lin Moyu suggested,
Instead of injuring all 5, why not focus on killing one or severely wounding them? Leave the others for now.
Montag hai hesitatet.
Not leave them all behind?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
No, don't leave them.
The third ancestor understood Lin Moyu's strategy.
Old Black, listen to the little fox.
Mohe was decisive and followed Lin Moyu's plan. The spears in the cage vanished instantly. The 5 lizard god realm Tao lords breathed a sigh of relief, thinking Mohe was done. But suddenly, a massive war knife appeared. The knife struck one of the Tao lords, and the waves erupted again, trying to separate the 5 figures and prevent them from combining their strength. Mohe focused on one target as per Lin Moyu's advice. The lizard god realm figures realized Mohe's plan and extended their tails, connecting them to each other, refusing to separate. The 5 figures roared together, unleashing a massive force against the war knife. The void shook, and a terrifying power swept in all directions. Lin Moyu saw several soul worlds collapse within the world barrier, and those unfortunate souls were erased, dying instantly. In the midst of the massive waves, the 5 figures broke out of the cage and retreated back into their realm. Mohe was dissatisfied with his strike, muttering,
Tao lords are indeed hard to kill.
Lin Moyu smiled.
If Tao lords were easy to kill, we wouldn't need seniors like you to take action. You're already impressive for facing 5 alone and driving them back.
Mohe asked.
Now, why didn't you act?
Lin Moyu explained.
We've already alerted them. Next, we should lure them out. The lizard god realm has more Tao lords. If we kill too many, the others might escape. In fact, if they do escape, it's not a big deal. What we fear is that they'll hide and, when we reach the core of the world, coordinate with the world will to counterattack. That would be troublesome. So, the best approach is to lure out a batch and kill them. After that, things will be easier.
The third ancestor chuckled.
You've been a king for so long, yet you don't understand these things.
Mohe said,
Who thinks about these things? If I'm unhappy, I just kill directly. I didn't need to strategize in battles when I was the unchallenged king in the Boundary Sea. His strategies aren't in battles but in setting up his position as a Tao Lord.
The third ancestor added,
We haven't had a big war in a long time. In this battle, it's better to listen to the little fox.
The beast emperor said,
Indeed, Lin Moyu emerged from a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. His killing intent is heavy. You've seen it before. Listening to him won't be wrong.
Although their cultivation levels were higher than Lin Moyu's, they were more inclined to trust him in this aspect. Lin Moyu looked at them, feeling a strange sensation. It seemed unnatural that the origin continent had grown to its current state without its strong figures experiencing numerous wars. In the history of the origin continent, there was only the origin catastrophe. These Tao lords, who had lived for countless years, were powerful but lacked practical battle experience.
This is really strange.
This bizarre feeling made Lin Moyu uncomfortable. Chapter 3700. The Second Suspicion. Since they couldn't figure it out, Lin Moyu and the third ancestor openly invaded the lizard god realm. As they crossed the world barrier, the entire lizard god realm trembled. The world will awakened, instinctively sending a warning throughout the world, alerting it to the external invasion. Most cultivators in the world received this warning, stopping whatever they were doing to respond. Great Tao cultivators swarmed out, entering the soul void. Countless soul flames burned brightly as the army quickly assembled, growing in number. One by one, Tao lords appeared, becoming the leaders of the army. In this moment, Lin Moyu discovered the second suspicious point. Why could the strong figures of the lizard god realm gather so quickly and accurately in the soul void, where it was difficult to determine one's location? Unlike the origin continent, even the third ancestor and others needed the guidance of the skeleton god general when entering the soul void. Reflecting on his previous encounter with the golden lion Tao Lord, Lin Moyu realized he should have noticed something was off earlier. The golden lion Tao Lord and his companions seemed able to find their bearings in their own world. Lin Moyu thought to himself,
Why didn't I feel this was abnormal back then? I didn't even have the thought.
He glanced at the third ancestor and others beside him. They didn't seem to suspect anything either. However, this was the biggest problem. Someone like the third ancestor, a cunning old fox, shouldn't have missed it. The only possibility was that he had been deceived. Lin Moyu himself had also been deceived until now. Lin Moyu's gaze flickered.
The origin continent seems more complex than imagined. With the world gaining intelligence, what has it hidden?
At that moment, he heard the third ancestor's voice.
Little fox, the opposing army has assembled. What about yours? Aren't you going to act?
Lin Moyu scanned the void. The lizard god realm's army was advancing towards them. The army numbered over 1 million, all above the Great Tao realm. Most were 7th to 9th tier Great Tao cultivators, making up 70%. 4th to 6th tier cultivators accounted for over 20%. There were only a few tens of thousands of 3rd tier soul Great Tao cultivators. If divided further, there were only 100 1st tier soul Great Tao cultivators. They were led by 18 Tao lords, including 3 origin Tao lords and 15 branch Tao lords. In terms of Tao lords, the lizard god realm had the upper hand. However, on another front, the third ancestor knew some of Lin Moyu's secrets and wasn't concerned about the million-strong lizard god realm army. Lin Moyu said,
Don't rush. Let's wait and see if anyone else comes. The lizard god realm is a world, after all. It shouldn't have so few great Tao cultivators.
The third ancestor shook his head.
It's about right. The lizard god realm isn't a major realm. Its Taos are incomplete. It used to be subordinate to the heavenly god realm, which wouldn't allow it to grow strong.
Lin Moyu didn't doubt the third ancestor's words, whispering,
In that case, let's wait until they get closer and try to annihilate them in one go.
The third ancestor said,
Leave the army to you. How will we deal with these 18 Tao lords?
They had 3 origin Tao lords and 1 branch Tao lord plus Shen Chun, who was not weaker than a branch Tao lord. However, they were outnumbered. But the third ancestor and others were confident in their methods, which far surpassed those of the lizard god realm's Tao lords. Lin Moyu said,
I think the lizard god realm's Tao lord who cultivates the heavy water great Tao should be handled by Xinqian and Ouyang Wentian working together. Since there's no purple thunder great Tao here, Ouyang Wentian's strength can't be fully utilized, so it's safer for him to team up with Xinqian. Here, there's also no balanced great Tao, but I trust the third ancestor's strength. So, the 3 origin Tao lords of the lizard god realm can be dealt with by the 3 of you. Try not to let them escape. As for the remaining 14 branch Tao lords, I may not be able to kill them, but I can trap them for a while. Once you've handled your opponents, you can come and deal with these branch Tao lords.
Lin Moyu not only faced a million-strong army but also planned to trap 4 Tao lords. Yet, despite being only a 2nd-tier soul Great Tao cultivator, his words weren't doubted. Instead, both the third ancestor and the Beast Emperor trusted Lin Moyu's plan. The third ancestor said,
Since you've arranged it this way, let's follow your plan. It seems we really need to have a serious battle today.
The Beast Emperor chuckled.
Let's see what the soul of the Tao Lord tastes like. This will be a great Tao contest. Killing them will also strengthen my Tao.
Mohe sneered, his massive body twisting in the void.
Come on, let's start the great Tao contest.
Ouyang Wentian didn't oppose Lin Moyu's plan because it was true. In this place, his strength would be greatly discounted, and he wouldn't have an advantage against any of the Lizard God Realm's Tao Lords. This was the difference between Origin and Branch Tao Lords. Most worlds have Origin Great Taos, but Branch Great Taos are less complete, making them more susceptible to constraints. However, if he teamed up with Shen Chun to face a Branch Tao Lord of the Lizard God Realm, their chances were better. The Lizard God Realm's army drew closer. The third ancestor and others had already prepared their treasures, ready to act. When the distance was less than 10,000 kilometers, Lin Moyu finally moved. He opened his storage space, and Legion commanders rushed out, dispersing in all directions. They quickly summoned the Dragon Rider Legion, followed by a massive number of skeleton god generals and over 10,000 skeleton kings. Lin Moyu pulled out a primordial virtual treasure, a damaged fan controlled by a virtual body. A strong gust of wind blew, and chaotic mist erupted from the fan, creating spatial folds. In an instant, his undead legion, accompanied by the wind and wrapped in chaotic mist, traversed the folded space, appearing around the Lizard God Realm's army in a manner akin to teleportation. Lin Moyu used the special ability of the primordial virtual treasure to transport his undead legion directly to the battlefield, giving the Lizard God Realm's army no chance to react. The encirclement was complete. The undead army numbered in the hundreds of billions, densely surrounding the Lizard God Realm's forces. The cultivators of the Lizard God Realm were shocked, feeling the power of the undead legion. Any single skeleton god general was a second-tier soul great Tao cultivator, and they outnumbered the Lizard God Realm's forces. But now they had no choice but to fight. As Lin Moyu acted, the third ancestor and others charged towards the Lizard God Realm's Tao Lords. The Tao Lords of the Lizard God Realm also roared, pulling out their treasures and attacking the undead legion. They knew they had to break through the encirclement or risk their army being destroyed. However, Lin Moyu wouldn't give them the chance. The Void God rune flew out, and the fan flapped again, creating a gust of wind that wrinkled space and sent the Void God rune to the Lizard God Realm's Tao Lords. The Void God rune unfolded, revealing the 1,000 paths and myriad images formation.